and welcome to the 1%ers Performance Podcast, coming to you from Combermary and Gadigal Country in Australia. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and we acknowledge the First Nations people of these lands. This is the podcast exploring how small changes make a big impact. I'm Mario Buchs, and together with my co-host Tim Buxton, we'll discover the unseen edges of peak performance to help athletes, teams and leaders unlock their exponential growth. And now, it's time to dive in and find the 1% that changes everything.
Well, hello, Mario. How are you, mate?
I'm fantastic. Tim, how about you?
Super good and very excited about today's topic. We were talking about last time we jumped off the call. We're having a chat about parenting and growing up and doing sport as kids. And I think we realised there's a topic in this. There's a topic in, I guess, what kids can teach us about performance. We're both obviously parents and remember back when we were young, growing up. And, you know, our dreams of, you know, either playing sport professionally or just, you know, getting, being successful in whatever we did. But quite, you know, as we go through life, mature, and adults, we end up kind of complicating, I think, what I think kids have so much to teach us about about performance. And so we're going to delve into that today. And I know you and I have got... are wearing a few different hats. I'll probably wear the hat of a bit more of the parent kind of perspective, and you being the coach who coaches other, not only adults, but you do a lot of coaching of other young kids as well. So I think there's some good stuff we want to chat. So are you ready for this one, Mario?
Absolutely. It's I think we've called it what kids know about performance.
Yeah.
That adults have spent years forgetting, something like that. Yeah. So this is kind of today's podcast episode subject.
And it's really relevant for me too, because yesterday, Mario, I was at an inter-school, which is like a district's cross-country carnival. So my daughter, she managed to place fourth in her school cross-country. And, you know, she was really proud of that, which made regional, the districts. And so they run another cross country against all the other top performers of the other schools to make it to the, you know, obviously the next level, and it goes to states and all that stuff if, you know, she's successful. But for her, she was really kind of like, this is her thing. She loves running. She's my other kids like just didn't even do the cross country, even though they could have got a day off school had they done it. They're just interested in other things, but this is her thing. And here I was yesterday at the course with my daughter. She'd been doing her own training, and I found myself, you know, what do I say to her? How do I motivate her? How do I help her as a parent? Like, there's loads of other parents there because you couldn't get a school bus there. All the other parents had to drop them off. And so just navigating like all the different ways parents are supporting and interacting with their kids. And I've got a history with my other kids that are in like football that I can't coach them. Like, I can, and I do. I spend all the time down there at the nets or, you know, kicking the footy with them and training, and they need me for that. But anytime I go into coach mode and start telling them you should do this and maybe try this, I mean, they're just like, stop it, Dad. Really, it's a tense kind of thing. Lucky enough, you know, she kind of just knew that she didn't really need my support and help. She's like, Dad, thanks for being here. She came up to me for a hug before she went to the start line. She aced it. She's made it through to the next the stage, which is amazing, and exceed her expectations. But yeah, like there's a lot that is so fun to watch when kids compete as well, because they're doing it because they just love it, you know. Or some are getting a day off school, but they're out there. They're not getting paid to do this. They're running around having fun on the course, and you know, yeah, there's something really special, and I think, you know, something for all. I think some really good 1%ers to take away from how kids not only perform well, but how they approach, you know, obviously these kinds of challenges, right? So I want to bring you in onto this. What if what's with your kind of coaching hat? You've got a few kids you coach, but you've also got some experiences yourself and perspectives on this. What have you found has been a kind of some of the challenges that you've found with a lot of parents that have been engaging with their kids, and how have you navigated that? And what have you seen as being like maybe a negative impact on kids' performance? Um, and what has some of the things that you see that they do intrinsically that you think is worth us noting and picking up on?
First and foremost, many parents make the big mistake. I mean, I'll tell you my little story with my daughter, which is quite funny later on, but I've coached young athletes, not just for running. So I've had cricketers, golfers, rugby league, frisbee, soccer. So they're just like strength and conditioning, running, just getting better. And many times it's the parents that decide that's what the kid needs, right? So
Mm.
that's already something that I then need to fix as the coach. The other thing is, I will not let the parents live their lost dream, stuffed up athletic dream, live through the kid. It's not going to happen. Day one, that's already clear. So I said, like, I will work with your boy and your daughter. Absolutely. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's nothing sets me up more for the day if I've had an hour with one of the kids. It's just amazing. They're in the moment. They're not driven by what's going to happen in 1 year or in 3 months, whatever. But yeah, look, the main thing is that the parents have to understand this is about the kid and not about them. Sometimes, I mean, the most negative thing is perhaps that, they expect the kid to do really well just because now they've got a coach and after 3 sessions, they should already be Olympic champion. I put it straight. I've had work with one boy who was really talented, and we've worked for 4 years together to get him to a point where now he's ready to go to nationals and whatever. So whoever picks him up now has got the best base, right? He left just for the sheer fact school, academics, and everything else has taken over. And he wants to focus on that, but he's still running. He just doesn't want to be coached. But if someone is lucky enough to pick this boy up now, strong 16-year-old, really strong, goes to the gym, 800 meter, 1500 meter, even longer, 3K, 5K, he'll be a gun. But it's this preparation, staying in the moment, getting these kids to perform well when they're at a certain age, when the body is kind of established a little bit. Who cares how good you were at 12? Yes, I was the best. I was the biggest talent at 7 in
Mm.
football. It's fact. There's videos still and pictures that my dad took. And also I was a really good skier. But that's at 7. Who cares? Right? If you have fun, you progress. Kids are not objective driven, which is good. They're just like, okay, let's do this. I'd love to do X. But most of the kids have dreams, but they're not really set in stone. It's like 1 week they want to run that, next week they want to do this.
I mean, when you said, first of all, don't live your crushed, dreams through your kids, the is huge, and you see it all the time. You see it, the pressure. The pressure then suddenly changes the whole dynamic in the relationship with the child. And I firmly believe that, you look at anyone that is successful, yeah, their parents probably had a huge role to play in that they they made it they made sacrifices in ways to allow them to pursue their dreams, but it was them kind of creating an environment where they could pursue their dreams rather than grind into them. And the classic is, the minute you get in the car on the way home after they've played a game and you just tear them to piece of what they should have done well and what they shouldn't have done, and how many kids they really just are scared to get in the car and be grilled. And the only thing that needs to be said is, you know what? I just love watching you play. That's probably the most only thing they need from a parent,
Absolutely.
is that you
100%.
just love watching them out there playing. And truly, there is no greater joy. I get more nervous sometimes watching them play, but I also just get more joy watching them play than even playing sport or doing things myself. And so you can live through them in a healthy way as a
Yeah,
parent.
but not your stuffed up career, right? Not
But not
what
your
you
stuffed
didn't
up
do well.
career.
Correct. Yeah.
And I
Because,
think
yeah,
that creates that environment where, hey, I don't have to perform to, to feel a sense of self-worth, perform good enough for my parents or for people that I guess their opinion matters. Your parents' opinion matters so much to a kid, but you don't have to perform for them. You just have to enjoy it and be there and do your best. Honestly, it's the only thing I do push to my kids is, look, I don't care where you get, what time you get. If you just give your whole heart out, and just do everything you can and just give it your best, that's all I'll ever tell my kids. I'm already proud of you, whatever the result is. That's huge because it's the parents that want to live through, take that route that will be the ones that go to you, Mario. Hey, can you coach my kid? Like, we've got to get them to the next level. And does the kid really? Are they ready for that? Do they want this? Because if they don't want it, what happens, Mario?
yeah, it's going to make it harder for me as the coach. I've had a kid that did not want to train. I've had that in the past. Absolutely did not want to train. In the end, I found out that obviously he's not an easy boy. He's got his issues. I'm not going to go into details what that is, but he wasn't the best behaved boy and he didn't really respect much because he was an only child. That's not a problem. We have an only child, but at the end of the day, we don't have to spoil that child. That boy was. So as soon as he entered my little area for an hour, different rules applied. And that was hard for him. It's like, mate, this is how we do this here, or you can go over there. I don't care. I actually don't care. And they need to know. It's again, this is another podcast that we will line up, people, soon, is how do we apply feedback to adults and juniors? This is something very, very important to keep in mind. These tough discussions, so to say, they have to happen from an early age on. Feedback is feedback. It's not criticism and not judgment. We're not going to go into it now, but we'll have another podcast coming up soon about this. I just want to say something about parents when they are present. We just released our newsletter for May and it was Mother's Day. And my contribution was, I remember the football game back in Switzerland many years ago. My parents were divorced, so my mom didn't live near us. In Switzerland, not near you means, but it was a few kilometers away, so kind of 60 k's away or something like that, couple of trains. Anyway, when I moved to Switzerland, my age group in a little Dorf village football club of 1,800 people, we were just lucky that our age group was just a very good team. So there was 10 fantastic footballers in me. And I was lucky enough to be surrounded by 10 fantastic footballers. We won everything. So we went up a league. That means as you go up a league, your geography of where you play expands. So we had to go further. So we went up a league and we went into a division where there were some big Swiss teams who were actually in the top league. Their junior teams played against us. And we were a village club of 80. The village is 1,800 inhabitants. It's nuts. You can't even find it on the map. And the first game of that season, once we got up, we played at my mom's place where my mom lived. And she came out with my younger brother. And I played out of my skin. But my mother, there was no pressure. There was she just came in the middle of the game and she gave me some magic powers. I scored 2 goals. We won 3-2. It was fantastic. The funny thing is my season didn't go on like that. So when we had the rematch, these guys came, the coach from their side came up to me. So how many goals have you scored by now? So this was like 12, 13 games in. He says, oh, only 2, the ones at your end. He says, no way. He says, yeah. It was just mom's magic, so this does happen, and I believe in that. Parents, but if there's no pressure there's something happening. My dad used to come and watch me play as well, but only the games, of course, not training and stuff like that. But I usually didn't play that well, fun enough. It was hard, when he didn't watch. I had a decent game, came home, said, oh, today was good. So he said, oh, I'll have to come and watch next week. And then obviously it was a bad one again, But just back to our own kids, my daughter, just for that sheer reason of not wanting me to interfere, chose 2 sports that I have no idea of. Nothing. I know nothing. Very clever. She chose judo, no idea, and basketball, no idea. 2 sports, I don't know. And it was good. So so the question was actually, when I did pick her back up, it's like, and did you have a good time? She says, yes. And that was it, because I couldn't have that
Yeah.
debrief
Well,
with
like,
her.
how many points did you score? And
That
you
was
know,
maybe it, but it wasn't
yeah.
interest. I wasn't even interested. She just loved going and team, and she loved judo until she was a certain age. Then it got a bit difficult because she was the only girl, and as you know, you can imagine at 15, 16, it got a bit awkward. But she loved it, you know, and the coach was brilliant. He knew he was at the 2000 Olympics, and he was local where we live here, and he did a great job. Yeah, it's funny. So sometimes kids are smart. They outsmart us. Say, okay, what does my dad know? All right, I'll choose something else, and then
Yeah.
he can't interfere. I thought it was funny. It was great. This is, I mean, I wanted her to do a contact sport, self defense. That's important to build the confidence of any child, not just girls. But yeah, and it is tough. I did it a few times. They did the parent evening, right, where you went and threw people around, or I got thrown around. It's tough. It's a tough sport.
Yeah, it does make me think though that there's something that happens when, because like obviously kids want to perform, they want to do well. I mean, even at training, I see so many parents now are at training watching their kids, and I see it's them looking over their parents. Did you see what I did? Did you see? And that's where I think it can get you know. I think there's a balance, right? Like I want to be present. I love being able to take my kids to training and be there and support and help, but I also know when my presence is actually distracting them and taking them out of the moment. And what kids are so great at is being in the moment, right? Of being in, this is play. This isn't about a performance. This is more about just being in that moment. And I think, you know, what, what are some of the things that you think we can learn from where I think play is a performance tool, like from kids and how they do that? How do you think that, I guess, us as adults can kind of tap into that mentality that you see, kids seem to so naturally, get into?
Coach normally tries to do a very good job. Let's just put the coach hat on that field in practice. He's got this 1.5 hour period, depending on how long the practice is, and he's got some sort of a plan. He wants to go through this. If you've got 20 kids looking left and right and straight and back to their parents all the time, what does that make the coach? That makes the coach's job a lot harder, right? So plus
Yeah.
they're distracted. Okay. Then
And
you've
I
got
can
the
imagine
parents who
the
are watching
coach
the coach.
and the coach is like, I hope, I can't come down hard on that kid if the dad hears me kind
Correct.
of, or if I'm not playing him or doing this or whatever things, like if they're kind of helicopter parents, you felt that as a coach. It can be quite an extra layer of pressure that won't allow the coach to do what they're able in their best job, right?
And I can't see, to be honest, in training, and I'm very open about this. This is my opinion. I talk to a lot of other guys about it because I have runners who use kids' sport as an excuse not to go for a run. Or I know of runners who have that issue. And I'm like, why would you go there for 2 hours and watch your kid practice? Just go for a run. He needs me there. He does not need you there. I can guarantee you, children do not need parents at practice, period. 100% sure. I mean, in Europe, that's not even a thing. I mean, I'm going to talk about the Norwegian method later on in this
Mm.
podcast because I'm quite connected to how they operate there. I hopped on my bike and went to practice and came back home. Dad has gardening to do. Mom's doing other stuff. Let's be honest, Saturday morning, I got into trouble by dropping my daughter off and picking her up again after shopping at Little Athletics. I got a ride there, reaming. I'm like, we are not your babysitter. I said, I'm teaching my daughter here to do stuff on her own. Anyway, so yeah, I think there's a place. The game is important.
Now
Let's
that's a
pitch.
big thing in Australian culture, because trust me, we just love to and all the parents should be volunteering and great, but uh, in training, it's a really interesting point.
What does
Because
it
I'd
teach the
I'd
kids?
I'd want to push back and be like, it actually shows my kids that I really care. That it shows want the coach to know that I'm invested but hearing it from that side of things does make me question, am I imposing or impeding their development as athletes, as young kids? That's just natural.
Wouldn't it be nicer to every so often be there rather than being there all the time? And then if we miss one, someone's disappointed. Let's twist it and say once a month, we'll go pick them up a little bit earlier and watch the last 15 minutes. There's a middle way to do this, you know? We don't need to leave them there in the dark, and God knows now it's winter here. It's dark
The
soon in
kid,
the evening.
kids know. They know if you care and they know
Of
if you want to
course.
be there. And they also know that, as a parent, you've got, like you said, there's other responsibilities, other things that have got to get done in order for them to be able to pursue their dreams. And I think that's the key point is your role primarily as a parent is to be a support, to help them know that their performance isn't linked to their self-worth in your eyes, and that your goal is to preserve this joy and love for whatever sport that they're doing or whatever dance, arts, music. Could apply it to anything, where it takes discipline. That keep that joy there because, yeah, I think that's kind of how that looks is going to be different for every person and their circumstances and their abilities and time, capacity. So I think, yeah, I think that's kind of the main kind of takeaway. I think.
Or how about this scenario? We don't go to the kids' practice. We spend the 90 minutes doing what we have to do as parents and as adults. Then we pick them up. And instead of throwing them in front of the TV because we've got stuff to do, we've now done that stuff. And suddenly we're able to spend time with the kids when they really need us and when they're okay with it. And we're actually going places with them rather than sitting on the sideline where we don't have anything of them anyway. They're busy doing whatever they're doing, sport and stuff. Anyway, look, I don't want to dig a big hole here, but just this is always food for thought when we speak on the one percenters. I mean, this goes into the work life as well. It's like your boss looking over your shoulder all the time. Leave me alone.
Yeah, yeah.
Checking in is a great idea. Check in with the kid. How was today? Like you said, how was training today? And let them tell you how they saw it, right? My best feedback from my runners is when they tell me how they felt when they run. I don't know how they felt when they run. I put a plan together and I expect them to run a certain interval or a tempo session or an easy run. And I'm expecting, yeah, this is easy for this person. And when they then give me feedback, oh, that was hard. And I'm like, hold on, it shouldn't be hard. And then we look at what's going on in life. That's why it was hard. Lack of sleep, travel, bit of a bug going on, allergy, kids are sick, lots of stress at work, blah, blah, blah. So that comes together like this. Why don't we ask the kids how they did in training? Because if they learn how to judge how that they're going, it's like RP, rate of perceived exertion. How do you know what 7 out of 10 is if you don't
Mhm.
know what 10 out of 10 feels like and 2 out of 10 feels like? And the same goes for kids. How did you go today? I ask my guys when I have one-on-ones, it says, how did you go today? Every time. Before we high five and fist
Yeah,
bump.
yeah. I like that. I've experienced that with you because you've self-reflecting on. I think key point for me is can you reflect and say, you know what, I was bad at this, or this didn't go to plan, and it doesn't mean anything about me personally. Like, like I can reflect on that. I can be curious about that without it judging it, without like coming down hard on myself. Because if you're anything like me, there's a likelihood that you've learnt at a young age that your performance and being good at something is a reflection on you as a human, as a person, and that's the pressure you really need to separate. And learning to have a DNF in 100 miler like you had one of your people you coached, like that's okay.
Of course it is.
That doesn't mean you're bad and you shouldn't. I mean, you can be disappointed, of course. There's no way you wouldn't be. There's a lot of effort and energy. How can you be bad at something and it not mean anything about you is something that we need kids to learn a lot at an early age, because if they learn that at an early age, that'll be a beautiful psychological advantage when they get older, and the things that they might fail at might be bigger or more consequential. It still doesn't mean anything about you as a person. That's an okay thing.
Playing cricket and running It's not who you are, it's what you do. And you bring in the same professionalism and respect for humans into the game as you are at home, and you are, yeah, that's where we can learn. And I think that's where we can learn from kids. How often do kids show each other huge respect on the field, help each other up, brush each other off, get the ball for one another? If there's no adults involved, they could play forever. They wouldn't need a ref. If there
Man, the
wouldn't be
adults
TV,
are the worst.
right? I'm saying, like, watch kids.
Trust
It's
me.
like they
They're the
know the
worst on the
rules.
sidelines. They're screaming. There's
Yeah,
fights. Parents are getting into things. The
I
kids, if they
know.
were left to their own, they'd sort it all out. They'd walk off the field and it'd be no big deal. Parents,
Ice hockey, rugby, these sports are the best sports for kids to learn respect. Like, they're hard on the pitch, but when they leave the pitch, there's a big handshake. Still two of the most, even boxing, you bash each other's head in at the end of the day. There's no hard feelings, a few black eyes and a couple of broken ribs and stuff, but the respect is there and they hug each other, off we go. If we would just leave kids to what they do, they don't need supervision. I guarantee you. And you've just hit the nail on the head. The worst is the shouting on the sideline from people who haven't got a clue about the game. I've been in this situation many times. It says, who made you go up? Right? Who are you again? I've never seen you on TV play this sport. I don't know. I don't think you're that talented. So just keep it easy. Respect the ref, who's just another parent, and respect the coach, who's probably also another parent. And they are not. That is not their profession, right?
yeah.
Put money in your hands, go to an academy and send your kids there if it's that bloody important. But the Saturday morning, Sunday morning sport, that is just for fun. Absolutely. Yeah. I run around the area and I run Saturday mornings is usually kids sport and I can see it. And there's a toilet I visit when I'm on my long run and I can watch it there and I could just like 2 minutes, I'll walk across the field and it's like, look, we all mean well, but yeah. I think kids left alone, they'd figure the rules out themselves, I think. Yeah, there'll be
And
a bit of mayhem in the beginning, but no hard feelings. Yeah.
but we've got so much to learn, I think, from that. If we can apply that into the way we approach what we do, is how to tap into that mode of play, remove, I guess, the intrinsic motivations. There's much more intrinsic motivations. I do this because the love of the thing, I'm in the moment, not because of, the extrinsic rewards, I guess, outside, that it might bring. And that unfortunately is where a lot of, whether it's we're choosing to run an event or participate in something because of what other people might think. Or, I mean, that's just a sure way to kind of set yourself up for just unnecessary stress, like do you come across some of that you have to coach out of some of your athletes and people?
Yeah, I mean, it's very important that they own the race they enter. Look, I might be talking out of my backside here, but I think until about 2 or 3 years ago, even professional ultra runners, they had to race the races their sponsors wanted them to do, right? So that's also changing. So it's very hard to go to a race. You're a runner from a warm area and suddenly they want you to run somewhere very cold. It's not your thing and all this kind of stuff or whatever it is. So for me, my runners, the way I coach them, yes, sometimes I say, hey, leading up to your A race, this is a good race. I really want you to do this. This will tick this, and this box. Right. Then they get it. But the race itself, this A event, they have to choose. It can either be the town they're from, the mountain they've grown up
Mm.
in, something they've always wanted to do. I mean, I have races that I want to do, and I'm connected to them through just the beauty of the regions where it's in. Definitely, So sometimes you just have to navigate through this and let them. They have to own it. It's just the whole thing is micromanagement, right? This is the worst thing people can do to anybody, to a kid, at work. If we just and we're allowed to make mistakes. That's the other thing. We're allowed to fail. This is the great thing about living in 2026. We are now finally allowed to fail and it's accepted. It's okay. It's acceptable. Uh, I mean, I mentioned the Norwegians earlier on quickly. I don't want to make this
Yeah.
podcast too long. We all know Norway, Scandinavia, cold country. They've produced two of the best triathletes. Obviously, cross country skiing is their thing. Ski jumping is their thing. Biathlon. They've got a good football team as
400
well now,
meter.
soccer. 400 meters. They've got the whole Ingebrigtsen family. So they've got like the 1500 meters. So not only team sports, also individual sports across various sports, and it just makes you think, hold on, 4.5 million people live there, huh? By
Yeah,
the
they
way.
punch above their weight. All right.
It's so yeah. So this is just this way where I don't know what the age is. I'm just guessing now. People can obviously read it up. I think until the age of 12 or 13 or even older, there's no winners, losers, medals, cups, all this kind of stuff. It's just like, guys, get on with it, play. The other thing is they play football when it's cold out in the snow, probably as well. We did in Switzerland in winter. We had to, you can't just change the weather. It just hardens you up a little bit, and things aren't as bad when it is nice, and you appreciate when it is nice weather and you can play in 20 degrees, or you go running in 20 degrees rather than -5. And I mean, I've just been to Sweden in January. I ran in -15 degrees. I mean, it does your head in. I mean, it's nuts, but this is their life. And they're not sick as much as we are because they're outside even in winter. We stay in when it's winter. That means all the lurgies hang around the house. So we catch it from one another and so on. I mean, that's, again, something off topic. But I think they call it the Norwegian method, where everything's just done easy and slow, but lots of volume, for the adult runners and stuff. And then for the kids, it's just play.
Yeah, but there's no prizes and it's all obviously, if kids are naturally gifted and better or more interested in different things, that'll show. It's almost like to a certain extreme, our tall poppy syndrome. We don't like to, for people to be exceptional, except for our sports. We love to worship our sports people and we love to kind of lather them, but they've kind of even been able to say, hey, look, let's just preserve this for kids. Powerful. Like, I didn't know that about that. And I think what a beautiful gift it does give beyond them being able to perform exceptionally well in professional sports later on. But maybe that could just be the one thing that helps them preserve the joy of whatever it is. And I'm sure that there's been so many kids that have given up on a sport too soon that they loved, but because someone told them their growth and their development wasn't there and they weren't, hitting their stride yet, they gave up. And what a shame, right? That kids who should never be in a position where they should be made at such a young age to feel like they could never achieve at something. I mean, there's even the guy that's in the NBA for the New York Knicks. It's like, they're in the NBA finals at the moment, and it's huge. The one player for the New York Knicks constantly overlooked.
I love these stories.
And those are the stories of, like, he didn't give up, even though everyone was telling him, why are you even picking this guy? He's not even worth it. And it's like, it should be up to that individual to determine when they want to pull out. If they determine and they love this, and like you said, like, it shouldn't be the parent's choice to get a coach. Does this kid want that? And if you can do everything you can as a parent to make that possible, if they want that, but it's allowing them to take the lead. That's probably another thing there too, right? Them take the lead. Don't push them. Let them take the lead. It's giving them a sense of ownership, giving them a sense of agency. That's where their growth and their passion will dictate and guide where they go in life. And I think you and I could both agree, for our own kids and for anyone that's out there, you just want your kids to find what they love, and you want the best for them, and to do whatever you can to support them in that. So much to learn from kids and in this whole journey of being a parent too. I hope that's kind of there's been a few nuggets in there, a few 1%ers to apply. I don't know what else you might have to add there, Mario.
Now, look, I think this is also what we're striving to do with sports teams. The 1%ers, performance, coaching, formula that we're still creating even better every week, working with kids, your own kids, someone else's kids, where even when those talents, we evaluate, okay, attitude versus talent. what fits best for the team. On the flip side, there's so many talented kids, yes, like you say, that might not have had the attitude and vice versa. Kids with a great attitude never getting the chance to prove themselves other than someone. And this is where we come in from an external perspective, where we look at sometimes you can't see the woods for the trees, or what the saying is. And this is probably where best to keep. And you and I have a different approach, which is fantastic. That's why we are the double act. We are, it's kind of, you see something that I don't see, but together it's this yin yang effect where, they get the full Monty really from us, the full perspective. And that's very, very important for people to see, academy and the whole psychological thing comes in. You've got huge experience with being a father of 4 kids. And me too. I mean, I have 2. One's a 40-year-old man now who's handed us 2 grandkids, but I met him when he was 11, Stephen. So it's like, I think you're right. Hopefully some good nuggets for the listeners. I certainly enjoyed it, as always.
Yeah, so good. Well, Mario, thanks as always for your expert take on things. But it's, until next time.
Vibing out, team.
Thanks for tuning in to the One Percenters podcast. That's a wrap for another episode. And we're proud to be recording from Australia on Kombumerri and Gadigal country. And we honour the traditions and knowledge of the First Nations people and pay our respects to elders, past and present. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. We want to hear from you, your questions or topics you would like us to cover, and you can easily do that in the Spotify app. And for those of you that are ready to discover your peak performance edge today, just head on over to our website. That is top.coach. That's TOPP.coach. And start unlocking your unlimited potential with us today. We would love to work with you. And that's it for now. Until next time, what are you waiting for?